Hello, family. How are you doing? It's Pastor George, and we're here for How To Tuesday, and I am so excited about this. We're going to be talking about reopening the city, but also the country's reopening. We want to find out more about our rights and everything. So we have a very special, I'm not even going to say guest anymore, but I'm going to say we have Jamon Hicks. Hey, Jamon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, George. Good to see you as always.
Good. So look, I'm going to give you a little bit about his bio, but I'm going to tell you something very interesting. He's not really a guest anymore because as of 2 sessions ago, he has been on, this is his third time coming on in 2020. So if he comes on, I guess if you come on 2 more and I don't, you'll be on more than me on here. So in doing this, but Jamon, you know, I used to say we talked every day, but now we don't because we're staying at home safe, but working even harder. So Jamon is a partner at Douglas Hicks. It's a boutique law firm, and then also he's a civil rights firm. He specializes in civil rights, wrongful death, employment law, and criminal law. And also he practices in federal courts and also in state courts. And he has just been a blessing here and helping. And just want to let you know, tonight, we're not going to be talking, we talked about the George Floyd case, and we've talked about also things that we need to do that are practical. And if you'd like to learn more about that, we can't talk about that much today. But if you want to get more information regarding that, just please, all you have to do is, I'll show you how to get in our archives into YouTube, and you can sit back and you can look at some of the other past episodes in those areas. But I do want to tell you one thing though. If you guys remember the person that was talking that called the police in Central Park, that was from Franklin Templeton, I got an email from that firm last week that they want to sit down and meet with me now that after I called them and talked to them. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's the part of how we talk to them and do that. So tonight is a very special session that we'll be holding, and I just want to let everybody know up front, this should affect literally every person. And I also want us to be able to share with other people. So like you may also want to share this with your spouse, your children, and other areas. We're going to talk about reopening America, or reopening also our city, but we want to have a certain way that we handle this. So I'm going to hold up 5 fingers. I want you to think about 5 people that you want to share this with and forward this. And while we're talking, to think about them. And then I'm also going to remind you, but you know how we always do how-tos. Whenever we come on, hey, shout out put your name in and tell us what city you're from and what you're thankful for. Like I'd write Pastor George Thompson, and then I'd say Inglewood. You know, I still got to say it like that. And then also say, what am I thankful for? I was really thankful for Father's Day. Father's Day went really well. My kids, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, wake them up, and I'm like this, all right, it's Father's Day. And they left me alone for 5 consecutive hours of just no daddy, no asking me any questions. So I want you to type in the chat what your name is, shout out your city, and then tell me something that you're thankful for God for. Amen. So we'll do that. All right, so Jamon, we want to just jump right in this. So as you're seeing is that with the coronavirus, having people that are coming back to work and they're seeing things, and there's issues with if people have childcare or in different areas. And what we really want to find out is what people's rights are and then what they should do. So my first question to you is this. Let's say someone, gets called and they say, hey, on Friday, or let's do this, on Monday, we want you to come back to work and start working. And then they have some concerns. Like, hey, they may have a pre-existing condition, or they may be older. Like, what do they do when they get the phone call and say, hey, let's come back to work? Or what are some of their rights? What are their rights, or what should they be thinking?
Well, the first thing, thanks again, George, for having me on. One thing I want all the listeners to know is this is a very fluid type of situation, right? Even legally. COVID wasn't something that, the legislators thought about a year ago or 2 years ago. So things are evolving. Laws are changing rapidly. But what I can tell you is that there's what's called the California Family Rights Act. And the California Family Rights Act is also being expanded to give certain employees extra protection. One of the things that you brought up is you actually brought up 2 issues I'm going to take separately. One is childcare issues, right?
Right.
Under the California Family Rights Act, there are provisions that allow for people to take off work for a certain period of time, maybe up to like 12 weeks, if they can show that they have to take care of their children because the schools are still closed. Depending on how long this virus lasts, I would expect that that 12-week period may even get extended if we run into another situation where schools have to be closed for a longer period of time. A bigger concern is what you said, though, George, is what happens if I'm afraid, given my medical condition and my history of going back. The
Gotcha.
number
One
one
second. Can I stop you before you go any
Sure,
further?
sure.
Everybody, you guys know how we do this. This is how to's. So he said right there, see this? I wrote it down. You saw me look down. California Family Rights Act. Now, let me tell you something. Boom. There was a famous Negro poet that said, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Families First Coronavirus Response Act, employees paid leave rights, that we know these. So I put this up, but we'll put it on our page. Let's see that up to 2 weeks of sick leave, different things like that. So first of all, we want to know that you do have rights, because don't come into the office and yell at anybody. Just talk to your supervisor first before. We don't want to, file anything. I know we watch Judge Judy or something like that, but let's just, before we do all that, let's just first know our rights. So we want to write down what, and so that was from the Department of Labor. What Javon just said was, he said the California Family Rights Act. So we want to, first of all, have that and understand that, and then we'll get a little bit more information about that, and then start writing out a plan of what we're going to do. Now, you remember I said this already, everybody, 5 people. You say, oh, I don't have any kids, or my kids are in college. No, your uncle, your aunt, your brother, your sister, someone. I want you to think of 5 people, and I want you, at the end, I'm going to ask you who the 5 people are. I mean, that you have 5 people, okay? So now let's decide what the plan is for childcare. Now, Jamon, we've pivoted and we're switching to, if they called you back to work, what you should do. Jamon.
And another thing, you raise a good point when you're talking about the different acts, George, because the California Family Rights Act, right, is California. So what does that mean? When they review the language in the California Family Rights Act, they're looking at how the law applies to us here in California.
Right.
Okay. There are also different laws that apply federally. That means nationally.
Right.
And so you have federal protection and you have California protection. Now, in my personal opinion, and I think most attorneys would agree with me, California tends to be more employee friendly than a lot of other states, than also a lot of federal laws. So usually the California laws are going to give you more protection, not less protection than federal laws. There's also what's called the Fair Employment and Housing Act.
Okay, can you say it again? Okay, everybody, wait, stop. Everybody type this down and write this down. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. In California, it is the Fair Employment and Housing Act. That is the acronym is FEHA. So we then talk about FEHA claims and how does FEHA apply in this situation. All right, pre-COVID, right, there was FEHA that said you cannot discriminate against a person for certain classifications. That includes race, that includes gender, that includes sexual orientation. It also includes disability. And what's important is oftentimes people think that disability must be something that's long-term, or I must be handicapped in a certain way. No, FEHA defines it as a disability. It can be short-term or long-term, as long as it affects a major life role or major life decision. Okay. Gotcha. So it can impact us. I think we can all agree that COVID is major right now. And it's
so you can file are you about to tell me you can file for disability if you have COVID?
Correct. But to go back to your original point though, your original point is if you are a person that already has, let's say, lung issues, okay, you have a pre-existing condition. Now with COVID, it enhances that pre-existing condition. So in essence, you have a disability, because if you were to catch COVID, it's going to affect a person with an immune disease much worse than someone that has no injury. So even though we think of disability in a more global way, as it relates to COVID, especially with someone that has a pre-existing condition, they are disabled. and they have a right to not be discriminated by their employer based on their disability. So what do they need to do? Number one, you have to let the job know, right? Because the job can't discriminate if they don't know. Somebody can look at us and know we're Black. Somebody can look at us and know we're a woman. But they can't necessarily look at us and know if you have a disability, especially if it is something like an immune disability, right? So you have to first let the job know. I say phone calls are okay, but I would always do everything in writing so that you have a paper trail.
Right.
Even
Okay.
if you have a phone
I'm sorry,
call.
Jim. I have to interrupt
No
you
problem.
again. Everybody, do you understand that? So we're writing down the paper trail. Okay, and you're doing that. Also, guys, type these in the chat. Also, while we're doing this as well, I see you're doing that. So we want to have that, and we want to have a paper trail. Then, one of the things is, so do we want to go to our call our doctor and get a letter, or so we have a thing, or like our schools, like get the letter that says we're not in school. Get a letter from the I'm saying names now directly, YMCA that says they're only allowing 11 kids and it's already, or they're not having it. We got one from the ones we saying they're not having it. So we use those letters as a paper trail for what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Because what I would do is, number one, I'm going to call my supervisor, or I'm going to call HR, human resources, right? And if I can, I'm going to call both. And I'm going to let them know, hey, I have this pre-existing condition that is known as whatever it is, attached to this email, or I will fax you, or I will email you a copy of my doctor's note that talks about this condition, how it affects me. Due to my condition, due to my disability, I don't think I should be coming back to work. Now you've put them on notice, or you could be saying, due to my condition, due to how serious it is, I want to ensure that all the proper protections will be in place at my job, that we're following the guidelines.
There's a shield, there's a thing, there's no one there, there's social distance. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to another question, but I'm gonna say later on is to have a plan. Because later on I want to talk about what the company, to all the small businesses out there that you run a business, I'm going to talk about yours, which you're going to do later, but Jamad's already giving you the answers to that. But I want to come back to us having the paper trail. We're telling our company exactly what we're doing, and we're doing that because HR, and just also one more thing, and we've been teaching all this all along about all the financial aspects. Remember I said call your lender, call them. When you call HR and tell them that you don't have childcare, they can't be shocked. If they're shocked, if LA Unified School District or wherever you live in the country, like they cannot be shocked. They already kind of have a plan. I think sometimes they're just sending out a little, what's that called when you're in the military? Send a little radar to say, like, who's going to salute? Like, who's going to say, okay, if we have 100 employees, okay, 35 said they'll just come back. 10 said they're going to do this. So then you can start an operational plan. I'm jumping somewhere, but I'm coming back. Small business, you want to start having a plan to see who can come back, who has, see who can come back. You see how I said that? That wasn't a slip. Who can come back because we want to come back, and who can come back, but then start getting a plan together. But now let's go back to individuals, and we're going to go to businesses later. But I'm always do that because remember we do champions in business, and we want you to be kingdom advisors and to lead in this. And now do you see how I said that? You may be a leader in this for your company to help people do this and get the paper trail. So then you're going to send a letter. You're going to notify the company right now, hey, you should already be doing all this anyway, and then finding out what so now you either want to say, can I continue to work from home, or you want to go on what's called paid leave, but you probably want to continue to work from home because paid leave is less money. What's the difference between paid leave and still working?
Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
If you do have a disability, the job in certain circumstances, especially if a company is of a larger company, they have to do what's called accommodate that disability. Right? They have to accommodate your disability. So before
and a larger
COVID,
company is defined as 500 employees and up, right? Or sorry.
Well, no. FEHA actually applies so long as you have 5 or more employees. But let me explain why I say it for the larger corporations, right? Let's say that you have a small business where you have 10 employees. Does FEHA apply to you? Absolutely, it applies. But here's the catch. At some point, the company has to show that if I keep this employee on and I accommodate their disability, it would result in an undue hardship. If they can show that it would result in an undue hardship, then the company is protected to do what they have to do, which could include laying people off, right?
Right.
But if you have a company that's a larger company, it's harder for them to make the argument, right? Let's say we have Target.
Right.
It's hard for Target to say that we can't put somebody on leave for 12 weeks because it's going to cause undue hardship. It's harder for Google to say we can't allow somebody to work from home and we know it's a tech company and all you need is a laptop to do your job. And you can do
Right.
that from anywhere.
Right.
So there's certain considerations as well, depending on the company and whether or not they can accommodate you.
Right.
The larger the company, the more profitable company, the better position they are in accommodating you. So that's also a determination in whether, one, you decide you want to just take your leave, which is going to expire at some period of time based on the law, or do you just want an accommodation to allow you to work from home? Most people, I think, are going to elect to take the accommodation so that they can make sure that they're continuing to get paid.
Right. But if
and
they
to
do,
keep and to hopefully keep their job.
right, back to keeping their job. So
Right.
if they do go on disability, is there any rule or does something where they have to keep that job open for them to come back to?
See, it's going to depend. It's going to depend on, is it a hardship to the company, right? Can the company continue to operate and have this person ready to come back to their job? Or is it going to be so detrimental to the job that by having this person out and not working and you're paying for them, it could make the business not be profitable? So a business still has the right, a private business especially, still has the right to make money and to earn money, but it has to make sure that it is not being discriminatory in making those decisions and balancing if it's a hardship to the company.
Gotcha. So let's finish these up and let me just understand this way. So let's say they'd have you come back to work and they say they have a plan. So they're going to check your temperature every day, do that or do testing and different things. And then if you do test positive, then they're going to let you stay at home. I'm using the 14 days, a thing like this, get tested and that. Then they just pay you, they should just pay you regular?
Well, it depends because if you elect to go on leave, right, and then that's where you want to.
You didn't elect. If they say you test positive, you can't come back to work the next day. I mean,
right. I mean, so you could, but that's the discussion you want to have with the job so that you're clear. So you're asking your job, wait a minute, and am I going out on leave? And I'm going to get paid based on my leave, or are you just going to accommodate me? Because just because you're quarantining me for 14 days, if that person is still healthy enough and wants to continue to work from home, the question then becomes, is your job allowing you to work from home and providing an accommodation?
And they have to have a system for that. And then I'm just using Costco. By the way, I like Costco and they treat their employees really well. But I'm saying if you go to work and then you get the coronavirus and you work at Costco, then you can't work from home. You have to just sit at home. I'm assuming they're going to pay, but there's some plan written.
Correct.
My question for you right now, not you, Jamon, you at home, is what's the plan at your job? And we want to start looking at, if you come back, then what happens if you get the coronavirus, and then doing that. Now I want to ask you another question. Suppose a person doesn't have the coronavirus, but then their spouse or parent or someone gets infected and they have to take care of that person. Is there anything with that? And by the way, guys, you see these questions, man? You know they sent these to me. But anyway, but these are questions I've always just tried to figure out. And then also you got write these in the chat, think about this in this area, and also think about who we need to really help in this, because I want to make sure everybody's covered. I said at the beginning. All right, I'm sorry, Jamon. Answer to the you're fine, but someone, your parent, your spouse, someone gets it, someone has a virus, and then you need to help or take care of them. Then what happens?
That's also defined in the California Family Rights Act. What happens if I don't get it, but my wife, my husband, my child, my parent who I take care of gets it? Those types of things are outlined in the Family Rights Act. And so what you want to do is you want to go look at the act to make sure that the person that you're taking care of fits within the categories of those. Spouse, yes. Parent, yes. Child, yes. That's going to be easier. What happens if it's a cousin?
Okay, yeah.
That's going to be a little bit more difficult, right? And so we have to go back to the California Family Rights Act And then also you want to talk to your company, because also, just like California can give more rights than federal, a state can give more rights than federal. They can't give less rights,
Right.
right?
Right.
They can give more rights. Your job may give more rights. So in addition to understanding your rights under state law, what does your handbook say? What does the policy of the job say? Because your job may provide even more rights, and you need to know both, right? So you need to review your handbook where it defines what happens if I get sick or a family member gets sick, and see if your company is abiding by their own policies.
Right.
And then also look at the California Family Rights Act.
Right. And I just want to say this before because these are legal, but also I want us to even just talk. It seems like we want to open up communication, and you want to be able to talk to your employer about, these all seem like what the plan is, because we're talking about this just so you know, at the church, we're talking about this, and even all the things we're going to be doing, even for service to come back, and phases and different things, and employees and childcare, which you already know Bishop Palmer so nice. He's like, well, school ain't in, then there you have it, in that area. But then we have to make sure we don't know if everyone feels the same way. And then even I have my own personal businesses, but I have children, everyone has. So we're all having these discussions. So you want to start writing down what the plan is for you to come back. Now, can I cut across the field the other side? So
Sure.
I want to talk about employers. So now everyone, do not tune this out, because I want you to be able to think like you own a company and you have 10 employees or you have 5 employees. And then think of it this way. Right now, the coronavirus, the pandemic, I'm going to say the pandemic now. The pandemic, your revenue has gone down. Let's say you're trying to open back up the restaurant. You're trying to open back up your business. You're trying to do tax return. You're trying to run this business. What do you do to start your business? Like, what are some things you'd want to do legally, Jaman, or some things you kind of want to do to kind of get started? And I'm just telling you right now, I guess someone's developed a plan, but what are the elements of that? What would you do if you're running a business? Kind of how would you start communicating with your people?
Well, just like we said that the employees need to understand their rights under the California Family Rights Act,
Right.
The employers need to understand the employees' rights under the California Family Rights Act, because the employer wants to make sure they're in compliance. The employer, and they can do this a couple of ways. Number one, what I would recommend is to hire an attorney for a consultation. Right. Let the attorney come in and have an understanding of how your business is set up, right? Are you a corporation? Are you a nonprofit? More importantly, how many employees do you have, right? What are the job positions of each employee? Because some of these laws apply if you have 5 employees. Some may apply if you have 50 employees. There are different regulations depending on the size of the company. So as the employer, you need to know what category you're in so you know which laws apply to you and which laws do not apply to you. For example, if you only have 2 employees or 3 employees, FEHA is not going to apply to you. So if one of your employees comes in to talk to you about FEHA, you can explain to them, well, we have less than 5 employees, so what you read doesn't apply to us. Now, that doesn't mean that you could just go out and discriminate, right? But what that means is,
that doesn't apply. You're fired.
Right.
Are you coming with that?
but at least you understand and know what laws you have to abide by. So that's just understanding the employment law side. More importantly, you have to keep track of what's going on with the CDC, what the CDC guidelines are, and the social distancing, right? One week they may say, you can't have gatherings of more than 10 people. Then it switches to 50. Then it goes up to 100, but now we're headed back south, right?
Yeah, Jamal, don't even get me started. You guys remember when you came to church in February? And then we told everybody, Bishop stood up and said, don't invite anybody back next week. It went from 250, Monday went to 150, then down to 10. Like, we're like, you can't come. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So again, this is very fluid. That's why we do this. So we keep coming back and giving you the information and doing this. I'm going to say one more thing. He said, hire an attorney and do a consultation. Now, I want to explain something to you about investing now and why we do this. It is cheaper to have you do a consultation and pay an attorney hourly, or just come up front and then ask them, how much is this to do this? Then not to do this, get a lawsuit and then go drag this through court for years, or have to pay for something, or something happened and then you have to, and then this is the thing, that you feel horrible about it for a very long time. In the Bible, there's something called the law, and then there's grace. That's why we have to look at now, and when you're running your businesses, we need to run them by grace. Like, talk to people. People are, have young children at home. Start looking at how you can work this out. And if your business, if you don't know how to do it, then talk to us. We're literally doing classes every day. We're not every day. We're doing classes all the time on showing you, and we're teaching people every day about these things, about with your businesses, because we're actually showing you how your business should grow. We want you not to survive this pandemic. We want you to thrive during it. And there's certain things you can be doing now differently that should help you in that area. And Jamon, you're saying them exactly. So one's for them to get a consultation, for them to start going through some things. So what are some other things also that businesses should do in coming back and making sure the environment is safe? Like what should they? How do they get the guidelines to do that?
I would do at the minimum of what the CDC recommends, but I would do it even more, right? So if the CDC recommends having 6 feet social distancing, that's the minimum, I would encourage maybe do 9 or maybe do 10 to show as an employer, look, I care about my employees' safety and health. Another thing that I would recommend is that you, instead of having everybody come back, maybe staggering, depending on the type of business you're in, maybe staggering it, right? So like, for example, at our law firm, instead of having us all in the office at the same time, maybe just 2 attorneys and 1 staff member, 2 attorneys and 2 staff members, and then rotating. And then having a different modified schedule where instead of being inside of the office all at the same time, we have these staggered schedules where we're mixing working from home and working from in the office.
Right. So one more time. So we're translating that. So everyone. So we're doing that the exact same thing. So we're saying on Monday, this group A comes. We have group A, group B, group C, and then also this beauty. Before you say, but we've always done that. Remember, we want to think differently. Now clients are used to that. Like when we say, hey, we'll come in and we have a Monday, or we're here on Thursday, we're on Wednesday, so we're doing this and say, that's the time we're working. You want to know something that we've also been telling that to all of our vendors too? There's someone that we use that fixes up my properties. He goes, yeah, I work on, I've worked on my friend. Yeah, I work on Wednesday. So I'll come next Wednesday at this. You see how like they're doing that? Is start to do that and to think. And then I just don't want you in your mind saying, but wait, I got to go back to my clients. I got to think back. Actually, your clients are actually okay. You'd actually see how many now do them over Zoom. You see how things happen. You can do so much more. And you should have a staff meeting just like this and start looking at integrative things. And then again, we do class on this. Also type you're interested in this. If you want to, there's a plan and walk through this. And then we'll do another one. We'll do more higher detailed in that area. But I want to make sure we do that. Yes, go ahead.
So in enforcing, again, following the CDC guidelines, enforcing wearing of the mask, making sure that you have hand sanitizer, wipes, that you're constantly wiping down different desk areas, especially things like doorknobs,
right.
High areas that are the high use areas, exactly, countertops where you're touching, and you're making sure that you are following all of these guidelines. And like I said, I would do more than the guidelines, not just meet the bare minimum, because it goes to show your employees that you truly care about their health and safety.
And you do. And then also, I'm going to say it one more time. Let us know if you want to do best practices. Also type them in the chat. Like just so you guys know, when you come back to church, the doors of the church will be open. Like you're going to walk into church and never open. You're not going to touch any knobs. When you get ready to worship, there's going to be socials. Everything's going to be, so there's got to be a plan in that exact same area. And the same at work. We're looking at that and we're having that and we're being safer for that and also for your clients. So we want to be safe. And we also want to show that also for our clients. So if you're running the business or you're working for a business, we want to have that. And then everyone needs to work on the plan, not just, don't wait for your employer to say they did this or they didn't do this. Make suggestions. So we want to start having a meeting to walk through this and to do this. Now I'm going to give my warning again. I told you to have 5 people. I'm borderline now to 7, and if we keep going, we're going to go to 10 people that you need to also be sharing this with. Just other people that run businesses, and make sure that they understand the different laws or different things that are in effect. Go ahead, though. Was there some other areas you want to say that
Another idea, George, is when we were talking about, you raised a great point, right? It's so much cheaper, and it doesn't, by bringing an attorney in the beginning, does that mean you're not going to get sued? No, that it's not what it means. But what you said is right. If you spend the money in the front end, it may prevent you having to spend a lot more money on the back end. So you want to be preventative as opposed to being reactionary, right? So one other thing that you can do is, before you make the decision to lay off or to fire, maybe go talk to that attorney again and give the attorney, okay, this is the situation this is the reason why I want to terminate this person. This is how we're doing financially. It's a business decision. And let the attorney evaluate all of the circumstances and give you the best advice, as opposed to just going out, firing the person, not following certain laws, and then coming to the attorney. And now the attorney is saying, well, you messed up here, you messed up here. So now you've increased your chances of liability. Now you've increased your chances of having to pay out a settlement or a verdict.
Y'all, I'm sorry, Jaman, put your hands over yours real quick. Y'all, you want to talk to Jaman before. You don't want the people talking to Jaman and him coming. You don't want that. If you listen to the previous tapes of him, you don't call him and do the evaluation first. And I want to talk about that. So everyone that runs a business and doing this, we taught several classes on the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. And if you remember that you would use the money to pay payroll for employees. Just so you know, a lot of people, that 8 weeks ended on the 26th. I know you're going to type in the chat, George, they changed it to 60%. George, they changed it to 24 weeks. It depended on when you got the money. And if you started paying the payroll, you finished it. So if now you want to make sure you kept your records and you use that as part of your plan, because now you want to come back and say, I received the money from the government. Because if you fire people and you receive the money, then okay.
George, I
don't know what to tell you, because then I'm gonna be mad, because I had remember when we brought the industry, our partners, just so you guys know, I brought people on here that would do the loan, and now we're about to do another one on how to get the loan forgiven. You cannot get that loan forgiven if you don't do that. Jaman, but you guys, I'm don't have me looking at you like that. Okay, let's do right. Let's do right. And if you got the money, let's do that. And then also, it's ending now pretty soon for that. So we want to make sure that everyone that applied did the Paycheck Protection Program, that was eligible, but then make sure that you utilize that program all the way through, and you gave the employees the money. Jaman, go ahead.
Yeah, George, you raised a great point, because I actually received a call from a young lady that was working at a job, right? She knew, because she was in the accounting department. She knew that the job received, let's say, $2 million in funding from the PPP program.
Right.
Then they do this mass layoff. And then when doing this mass layoff, what do they claim? Well, economic hardship due to COVID, right? That's not smart. Because like you said, you just received all of this money, and you basically said, in order to receive this money, the goal is for payroll, for rent, and things of this nature, right. but more so is for payroll. That's really what it's so right? So you don't have to fire people, so you can keep people on. And by firing those employees, they're going to have a wave of lawsuits coming, because they're going to say, you lied to us. You said that the reason we were being laid off was due to economic hardship. In actuality, you're probably in a better position than you were before COVID, because you got this windfall from the PPP program.
Right.
And George, if they can identify a pattern, so let's say, for example, they notice of the 30 people that were laid off, 25 were women, right? Or 25 were Black. They're going to have now, on top of just wrongful termination in violation of public policy, they're looking at race discrimination or gender discrimination. So as an employer, again, it's better before when you did the right thing, George, in helping them to get the money.
Right.
Now, when they get to the forgiveness portion, they need to make sure that they did everything by the book, because they're going to have a bigger problem than not getting that loan forgiven. They're going to
Right.
also have to face all of these lawsuits about the way that they practice. There's also a theory called
Oh,
unfair business practices.
yes, I was about to tell you that that's also now you guys you see I'm sitting here trying to be quiet, but that's also financial fraud. When you tell somebody you needed money and then you get it and you get it for that reason, you have to use it for that reason. Just like if you came to me at the church, you said, I want this to go for a scholarship for someone, and for our scholarship at Faithful Central, we would use it for the scholarship. We wouldn't use it for something else. That's diverting funds. So we want to make sure that what we say we're going to do, we do. And you sign that on that paycheck
Correct.
protection plan. You sign that. You sent in a form, employers, you sent in a 941, you sent in your payroll, because that's really your payroll tax that you paid. That's where that funding.
Correct.
So what they're doing is they're sending that money directly. So then you got them off of your books real quick. And I want you guys to understand is that they took your 12 months payroll, your payroll for the year, divided by 12, and took it times 2.5. So that's 8 weeks. That's 2 months. So now you didn't have to pay anybody you don't have to pay anybody, but that money was used to pay them for 2 months. And a lot of that ends right now. Make sure that you did all that, so that now, and you should be communicating. I'm gonna come back to you, but you should be communicating the whole time. Like, hey, if we don't open up or different things don't happen, then we're going to have to start going to a different schedule and communicating to them, to the employees, about what's going on, instead of just sending them a form or I don't know if the term is still pink slip, but in doing that. So we just want to have a plan and be thoughtful, good business leaders. You want to add something to that? Go ahead. Then I'm going to.
And by you're talking about fraud in two kind of categories, right? Because number one, criminal, right? Because if you said on those forms, which you did on the PPP forms, right? The bank was clear. We're going to trust your word. So if you're telling us that you're using this for payroll and this is your payroll amount, then you sign on the line under penalty of perjury. Everything I just stated above is true.
Right.
Which means that if you lied and you are caught for lying, you're facing federal charges, because you're talking about the banking industry.
It's not
right? You're talking about defrauding banks and defrauding the federal government.
Right.
So
and the people.
Federal criminal case.
Right. Y'all, you might want to talk to Jamal before the other people get a hold of him. I think I said that twice. I'll probably say it one more time before we end. But now what I want to do is kind of bring everything together, Jamal, so we have everything that we kind of walk through. So what I want to just walk through is what the individual needs to do, and then individual, and then what we're doing with kids, and then also I want to just come and wrap with the employer and just kind of walk through them and just kind of make sure that we're doing things. So the first step, I'll let you do it. So let's wrap with the individual, then I'm gonna throw in kids, and then I want to say what businesses need to do, and then we'll wrap it up. But anyway, if you want to just summarize that.
Sure, absolutely. Again, I would encourage everybody to review California Family Rights Act, the Fair Employment and Housing Act, also known as FEHA.
Right.
Make sure that you are notifying your job, meaning your supervisor, your human resources person, about your situation.
Right.
I would do it in writing so that you can always verify it. Letters, emails, type it out so that you can always show. And even when you do a phone call, send an email right away. This will confirm our phone call of today's date at this time, wherein you told me the following things. And if anything seems incorrect or if I'm misunderstanding, please feel free to let me know. You want to keep a track, like a journal. Another thing that I forgot to mention real quick, George, if you go to your employer and you ever complain to your employer, and this is for both employer and employee, if you complain, especially about COVID, and you're concerned with your health and your disability, and you're terminated, that is called retaliation. And if you retaliate against an employee for exercising their right to their own safety, to their own health, now you have a whistleblower complaint, or you have a FEHA complaint. So number one, that's why as the employee, it's always important to keep everything in writing and make sure you put the employer on notice. And then as the employer, anytime an employee puts you on notice, you need to be making sure that you understand that person has put like a bubble of protection over them. And if you try and fire them, not only could you be facing discrimination, but you could be facing whistleblower and retaliation.
That's a whole nother level. That's back on that pedal. Yeah. You guys
right?
know that whistleblower stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
So for the employee, I think those are the most important things to remember. California Family Rights Act, FEHA claims, Fair Employment Housing Act, understanding the labor code and different whistleblower protections that come both on the state level and the federal level. From the employer, the same thing, that you have to know and understand the employee's rights so that you comply with them. Understanding CDC and the continue, you said it best, is fluid. So you have to constantly be on it because it's changing and it's evolving, and you need to make sure that your business practices are consistent with the evolution of the CDC's rules.
Right. All right. You guys, can you just type in what you're going to do? Just say what you're going to do. Saying this. And then also I want you to be, I'm deputizing, but also if God's calling you to be the leader at your company, like to help get all this together, be the leader. And so now I want to remove, and then we're going to pray at the end, but I want to remove from you the feeling of they got all under control. Maybe it's you. Maybe God has you right now listening, that you need to do that. Like, hey, everybody, we need to stay 6 feet apart. Then there's all these companies now where Amazon, I'm naming names because I try to stay because of stocks because but they'll print out the little sheets. They'll do this, in the different areas of showing you how to open up or how to do things. And you may work for a company that's 5 or 6 employees, and your boss it's not that they don't like this or that. They may not know what to do. And you help them to help the company grow. We're going to fix this. Remember I told you we're going to fix this all together, in doing this. So look at how you're going to help in doing the company. And then Jamon, kids, 2 sentences, and then we have to really.
And then with the kids, again, if your children, hopefully it doesn't happen, but there's a possibility schools could be closed, let's say in the fall. The moment they're closed, like you said, George, get verification, which is going to be easy because there's usually going to be an email from the school or something that
send a video from, they're on the news every night. You do the thing with
right.
I'm like, just and then I'm sorry, I got to do my Jamon impersonation. As you saw in the news last night at 5 o'clock, when the mayor stood up and said, no kids are going to school. I will not be there on Monday. It ran at 5 o'clock. Then he did it in Spanish at 5:30. So
exactly.
Take your pick. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. That was an impersonation. That was a good impersonation. But anyway, yes.
And then review the California Family Rights Act to understand, and don't forget to also review the employer's handbook. One other thing, George, as the employer, you should probably be updating your handbooks to make sure that the handbook is now consistent with the new CDC guidelines. You probably want to do that as well.
Right. Okay. And then last, employers, anything about them, but they just need to, I'm sorry, employers.
I would say the
or do you want me to do employers, or you want me to handle the employers for you? You guys, you need to do a consultation with Jamon, one, but do a consultation, but also employers start getting a plan written right now.
Absolutely.
In other words, like saying like this, people, if we come back, one is just have a meeting and ask who wants to come back and doing that in this area, finding out that, and then finding out how you can do your business the new normal. Because if we aren't coming back, it's like how you can do your business that way, or different changes that you need to make, and to follow these codes. But then also, not just if this is the code, we're going to go a little further than the code. They say, but do 6 feet. I was right. You said 8, but we're going to do 12. Okay.
I agree.
And then you're like, if we're doing company travel, like if people have to travel, like you're saying them right now, like they're different things. They're not going to conferences. Now you're working on a plan, but work out your plan. But then this is the part I want you to understand: not to survive, but I want you to thrive. And if you're and we're going to work that out, but actually to write out a plan that you actually want to have, and then also have a consultation with an attorney. Okay. Do you mind anything else I missed about businesses? Yes, man.
The last thing, also in complying with CDC, make sure you have the mask on hand for your employees, and if you have clients, make sure you have some on hand. You know, have extra cleaning supplies, things of that. Make sure before your employees come back, I would recommend having a deep cleaning done, just to make sure the areas are clean, and tell your employees we're gonna have a deep cleaning, done beforehand, and every so often, depending on how much volume you have of people, maybe you need another deep cleaning.
Yeah.
Just constantly make sure you're showing your employees you're trying to keep them safe.
Right. He said deep clean. And so you guys all know they've been watching this. And I was giving out investment advice one day. And I said, I want to open up a business, because I was telling people about buying Clorox stock. I said, I'm going to open up a business called Clorox Clean, where they do deep cleaning, like for schools, for organizations, different things. Now you're seeing Serpro, other companies doing that. But every time I brought up doing deep cleaning, wherever my wife would, she'd run downstairs with that, George, you talk about cleaning? And then I'd say, okay, I talked about being the owner. I didn't say me doing it.
Absolutely. Having someone do it.
Yeah, I'm the supervisor. Is this Clorox Clean? I'm the one that hangs up the sticker. Okay, that's as far as I can go in doing
Absolutely.
that. In doing that. But seriously, this is something that right now is something that we need to also really look at, and that will make a difference for not only you, but also your family. So again, I ask you to make sure that you share this with your family. Go talk to your employer. Start working out a plan. If you're a business owner, start working out your plan. Individuals, let's work out our plan and what's going on. And then also with our families, with children, let's get a plan, and then also communicate with other families, so that you're also getting things that you also may be able to work together, because schools may start that same way. In other words, like your kids may be going to school on Monday, and then they're not on Tuesday, then they're going on Wednesday. They may start staggering that same way. And then you want to start working that out with your employer, so that we're all doing can someone just say coordinated effort? That we all do this as a coordinated effort. That's good. Any other parting statements, anything you want to make, Javon? And then other than that,
I think we covered it, George. I mean, obviously, I just want everybody to stay healthy and stay safe, to take this seriously, because I am concerned with seeing the numbers and the way that they're spiking. I'm concerned that we could push ourselves into another shutdown, which would be, detrimental to a lot of people as far as work and getting the economy back going. So I just hope that everybody really takes this seriously and wears the mask, social distance, stay away from crowds, and please stay healthy and keep everybody else around you safe and healthy as well.
And wash your hands.
And wash your hands thoroughly.
And you guys, do us a favor, really. If you enjoyed this conversation, just like this on our page. Also, turn on the notifications so you can know when we come out and when we're doing these. And also, again, I'm going to tell you, and I'm serious about this one. That's why you heard me say at the very beginning, I said, guys, can you guys pick 5 people to share this with? Not for my own reason. I really think that when we have these conversations and when we're doing things, I think they actually save lives. Saves lives, and then also saves things economically. There's businesses where this can save you. I don't want you to get not in a lawsuit, but also economically, and then also it can affect it can affect families. I don't want to affect your children. I don't want to affect also your business. So we're doing this. So we believe that we want you to do that. Also, a couple things we want you to share it. Also, we want to thank all of you for doing How To Tuesdays. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and we used to do them always in the living room at our church. And doing things. So we had ours last week. We want to thank all of you listening. We had Conversation with Fathers, our Father's Day episode. That was our second highest, or one of our highest. It's tied for our highest number of views in this area. So again, I want to thank you for that. Next week, you don't want to miss next week. If you guys remember, we did one about racial injustice, but then also doing more. As you know, Jamon came on. He talked about voting, census. He went through a whole plan of what we need to do to fix things. We're going to do one next on jobs, making your pandemic proof. So we're going to be bringing some people. I'm letting you know I'm bringing back one of the most beautiful guests that we've ever had, the most pretty, most beautiful guest ever, smartest person. My wife likes to be coming back. And we're going to be talking also about, she also is a diversity and inclusion consultant. So what happens is she wants to show people how they can not only get a job, but also we want to get up in ranks. And also we'll bring on also someone. We're going to be bringing Jeffrey Wallace, who will be from Leaders Up, and he'll also be making your job pandemic proof. So we're going to talk about that. So anybody that needs a job, looking for a job, also would like to be promoted or make more money. And doing that, we'll be doing that next week as well. So again, everybody, you're on the chat. You guys give your hand, even though I know you don't, unless you're going to give a hand to Jaman for coming on and helping us out. He's by far right now. You're our number one. You're our number one guest. So in doing that, and it's a blessing. So let's close with a word of prayer, and then I will see you next time. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you. We thank you for this day. Lord, we pray over everyone, Lord, that is listening now, Lord, or tuned in, Lord. We pray your hand upon them. Lord, we pray your hand upon them in the area of resources, Lord, that you continue to bless them with resources. Lord, that first of all, that they know and we all know that you are our source. You supply all of our needs, Lord. I pray that we just remove any tension or anything where they're nervous about their job or in doing this, Lord, that you are in control, Lord. And Lord, I pray over what we went over tonight, Lord. I pray that they learn something, they apply it in their lives, and they share it with others, Lord, so we can grow to be the people you'd have us to be. Lord, I pray over all our business owners, Lord. I pray over right decisions, Lord. I pray over their businesses, Lord. I pray over our businesses. I pray over growth. I pray over doing things right. Pray over the knowledge that went forth today, Lord. I pray it turns into wisdom and that we utilize it in our everyday lives. Lord, in your word, it says that if we humble ourselves, that you will heal this land. I pray over our city, our country, and the world, Lord, that you heal this land, Lord, in every area. And Lord, I pray over all of us that we grow to be the people that you would have us to be. Loving people, caring people, and sharing people. Lord, we say this prayer in the name of Jesus. And all the blessed people of God said,
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks,
Amen.
George.
Hey, we love you. So we'll see you next week. I'm good. And I hope you type in there that you liked it. Or tell us what you learned. All right. I'll see you next week.